Hey everyone, welcome back to Minecraft. This is just a quick addendum video. It's nothing special, there's gonna be no editing, just gonna be real quick. I didn't mention it whenever I was doing the last video about automating your smelter. You need to remember that ratios are important. So I ended up having to build a whole nother one of these, by the way. That's gonna be a second part of this addendum. Whenever you're doing your smelters, you need to always remember the ratios involved. So whenever it comes to alloys, like let's say right here, Ingvar, it takes 2 iron and 1 nickel to make 3 Ingvar. So if you go to Ingvar, whatever, and you click on the molten Ingvar and go to alloying, it shows 96 millibuckets to 48 millibuckets, iron and nickel, make 144 Ingvar. Now for those of you not good at quick math, if you divide Ingvar by 3, if you take 144 and divide it by 3, you get 48, and 48 plus 48 is 96. Anywho, so you'll know that you'll need 2 iron, 1 nickel, and it gives you 3 Ingvar. And by having it set up that way, 2 iron ingots, 1 nickel ingot outputs 3 Ingvar. Whenever I go to craft it, it will make it work. And you're like, well, that shouldn't matter too much. What if I get a little bit too much of one or the other? Well, this adds up excruciatingly quickly. So in here, I have Nucleum, which takes 3 niob, 1 ezos, and 1 abyssum. And then over here, if I'm not mistaken, is it you? Promethium? No, you? Yeah, I have Solarium. With Solarium takes Uru, Valerium, and Nucleum. Now, if I don't have the things alloyed right at 221, so 1 Nucleum, whenever this makes Nucleum over here, which I have it set up using the niob ingot, which if I'm not mistaken is this one. No, I think it's you. Palladium. No, forgive me, I'm trying to remember. I put niob. Guess I put it in this one? Sorry. Wait, one of you has niob. You do, I just haven't set up your output yet. Okay. But with niob, which is also Ezos, and it takes 3 palladium. Now, you need to make sure to set it up right, because if you don't, you're not going to pour enough. So right now, let's say if I want Solarium, and I hit start, as you can see, I have enough Valerium, Uru. I don't have enough Valerium, but I do have enough Uru, I have enough Nucleum to do it. So if I click start and I go downstairs and I look in my smelters, see, it's going to melt the Valerium. It's going to first melt that and get that ready because it needs to get it done to melt an alloy. So taking a bit longer than I thought it would, but I know this gets kind of hot. And the reason it's doing this is it needs another Valerium ingot to continue. And if I go upstairs and look at my crafting grid, it's waiting on it to get done processing that to put it in to make the rest. So let's almost done over here. Yep, and now it's pouring it. That should be cooling. Yep, there we go. And now one of you should now be alloying. Or did I not do you right? I might have screwed up my own Valerium. Whoops. Oh, nope, it's over here. It puts them into this one. And it's already got the Nucleum and the Uru in it. And then it'll drop the Valerium in. And the reason it's important to get your ratios, because now that all this is done, it should come out with an even amount of solarium. See, 2 ingots worth, which punches it out. You don't have any leftover fluids. You need to get your ratios right. I didn't mention that before, but the easiest way to tell is if you click on it and look at alloying, it tells you like this. It's 2 millibuckets of valerium, 2 millibuckets of uru, and 1 millibucket of that gives you 2 of this. Because they all are worth 144, each one of these makes an ingot that melts down to 144 millibuckets. You can divide it evenly and easily. So 1 ingot, 2 ingots, and 2 ingots make 2 ingots, which this then poured and it processed. The second addendum is you need to make sure not to overlay the same materials. So to give you an idea, I'm in here. Have you noticed there's ovium, osram, copper, tin. These are the base ingots. Look at the inputs. Ovium, osram, copper, tin. I'm going to have to pull one of these out because copper's being used twice. You know, it's fine. I don't think there's anything that takes both bronze and constantan, but if it comes to that, we'll do it. And then palladium, which I could move you to a different one. Now, because this has palladium in it, I can't put the I can't put the niobe ingot over here. And I know you're kind of like, well, why? Why not? Because the niobe ingot takes palladium, but this outputs palladium. Or it's supposed to. I don't think I've set up its bucket yet. I'll do that in a moment. And what this does is, if I need to make niobe and it's over here with the palladium, it will start pumping out the palladium immediately instead of waiting till it alloys into niobe. So your best bet is to keep anything that uses like an alloy that uses the same material as another one. Keep it separate. Put it in a different thing that doesn't have a filter for it. So like over here, I have solarium. It takes valerium, nucleum, and uru. But over here, I have valerium just straight smelting. So as you can see, it'll just pull the valerium right out before it can even be used to alloy if I had dropped it over here. You don't want to do that. Remember to separate out your stuff based off of make sure to separate out your alloys away from their materials that they're going to use. You want it doing in a different container than the base material, and that's what this spillover one's about. The spillover is all about making sure that I can mix them efficiently, and if I need to, I'll even make a 6th one. That's about it. I mean, I can go into my computer now, and I don't have everything set up proper because I still need to put the buckets in, but once it's set up, I can now make solarium without even worrying about it. It just makes it. But yeah, so remember, keep your alloys and their base materials in different crafters. Make sure to pay attention to your ratios. Everything has, well, almost everything has a ratio proper. According to Freebie, Signalium will be getting a rework soon so that it matches up to 144, or basically 144 millibuckets of constantan, I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, Signalium currently is 1 constantan and 3 redstone, and he said he's going to be changing it to 144 millibuckets of constantan and 300 millibuckets of redstone. This will mean that it will get you the 3 millibuckets of Signalium, and you're like, well, why does that matter? And as I said in the last video, redstone, whenever you melt it down, so if I look at redstone and we look at it in the, I'm gonna find the smelter, sorry. I'm sorry, it's destabilized redstone that you need. So if I click on it and it's smelting, you only get it from like the redstone stuff, but 1 redstone gives you 100 millibuckets. So with the new one, you'll take 1 ingot of constantan, and you'll put in 3 redstone powder and get out 3 Signalium powder, meaning that you can also set up an alloying pattern in your furnaces, in your smelter. So remember, ratio is ratio. You can always find your ratio by clicking on the material you need and going to Smelter. Or if it's an alloy, like let's say with, let's just say I want to do Signalium, you can always go to alloying and it'll show you how much of each you'll need. And the thing is, if you're doing straight liquid processing, you can actually set up your liquid grid, and then whenever you go to your pattern over here, you could say, let's say I want to do destabilized redstone to make Signalium, and I click it. It doesn't show it over here, but it did pop the liquid in over here, because if I were to say drop this down, it shows me right here the input is 0.001 buckets of molten constant and 0.003 buckets of destabilized redstone make molten Signalium, and the Signalium recipe, you just say how much Signalium you want and it'll craft it out, which I need to place you over here. But you get the point. So liquid crafting is not so big of a deal, but if you're doing solid ingots like I do, there you go. You'll just pay attention to your ratios. Sorry for not including that in the other video. I was a bit rushed on it. I'm sorry. But, thank you for watching this short little addendum to it. Bye.